how is everybody doing today? I hope everybody's well. We are going to dive right in with stock control. So stock control, we kind of briefly yesterday went over how to review items that are in your inventory and whatnot. So I'll go ahead and go over that again real quick because we kind of brushed over that pretty quickly yesterday. I want to make sure I can see my notes here. All right. So in order to review items that are currently set up for your inventory, we go from the Coupa homepage, we go to Item, and then it'll drop us in Supplier items. And when we search, we use the advanced search feature, and we're going to filter by supplier because I want to look at items that are set to come out of our warehouse. So again, I'm going to use internal because that's a word that's in all of our warehouse names there. And this will show you all of the items that are currently set up for your inventory. So these items can be ordered into inventory and ordered out of inventory. Is there any more information that you guys would like here? It's pretty self-explanatory and straightforward, but it's a pretty important piece. Does everybody understand what this looks like? Perfect, thank you. All right, so say we have an item that we want to add to our inventory. There's two potential situations, one in which you could have an item that's already set up in Coupa as a direct item and we just want to move it into inventory, or it's a completely new item and it's never been set up and we need to get it set up in Coupa in order to put it into the inventory catalog. So to do that, it actually requires collaboration with your buyers as they should be gathering information for the item setup and whatnot. Your task will be getting the parse set and the location set in inventory control. So in order to start the process of getting an item set up in Coupa, you have to actually download a form out of the Knowledge Center. So this is the Knowledge Center. The first button here is training materials. It's a bunch of different documents and kind of how-to guides and whatnot. And then the second button here is training videos. I very much encourage you guys to get into those training videos and watch some of the videos that have been posted. There's a lot of videos that'll walk you through a lot of these tasks that we go through today, and it's updated pretty frequently. And as we're launching all of you guys, you'll see more and more of those come through. So I definitely encourage you guys to utilize this Knowledge Center when you're not sure where to go. Today, we're going to go into the training materials so we can download an item request form. So once you're in the P2P Knowledge Center, you're going to scroll down to where it says strategic sourcing. And at the bottom of that list, you see this documents. And if you click on the little arrow there, it'll open up a drop-down menu. So we are looking for item creation form. So you would click on that form and it's going to take you into our SharePoint site. And then from here, you click the three little dots right here and click download. I'm not actually going to do it because I've got this on my computer probably 8 times, so I'm not going to download it again, but that's how you download the form. So once you have the form downloaded, then you can go into work with your buyer to get it set, to get it filled out correctly. So this is what the form looks like. I'm actually going to go ahead. I have one open here. I will just show you an actual live form. So this is what the form looks like. It is an Excel spreadsheet. So when you come in here, you've got some header information up here at the top that has to be filled out. Your supplier name. This is a drop-down menu. So if you're not sure, you can always just scroll through it, or you can type it in and it will auto-populate for you. And then it'll also auto-populate your supplier number. Requester is you or your buyer, whomever is filling out the form. You click on the property button and it'll bring up the property selection and the warehouse selection. So in this case, we definitely do want to select my warehouse as well as my property because we want it to go into my warehouse. Put your phone number in here. It will have to go to an approver if it's a new item. If it's a new setup to Coupa, then it'll have to go to the commodity manager for approval. In this case, it was Melissa Timon. If the item is already set up and it doesn't have to have approval You still have to select the person here because it's a required field, but you won't actually have to send it to them for approval. And then the last piece up here at the top is the bid files. So if it's a bid file item, which again, this is information that your buyer should know, and this is why we collaborate with the buyers on this. So if it's a bid file item, and it looks like my spreadsheet has kind of degraded here because I'm missing two fields here that should be the start date and the end date for the bid prices. And then you just go in and you fill in all the information that's requested. Item description. If it's an item that's already set up in Coupa, you will match that item exactly. So item description, the manufacturer information, the supplier information is definitely most important, the supplier part number, and the stock status will help you guys too when you're reviewing orders and whatnot. So if we can gather that information, it's very helpful as well. And then you'll select all the different commodities and whatnot. Again, this part is more your buyer side. So if it's an F&B item or if it's an inventory item, in this case, because we're adding it to inventory, this would be a yes. If it's a catch weight item, you would fill in all the information here. This is specific to food. So you can see the different food book options. Again, that's going to be a buyer function there. Pricing and the bid pricing again. Unit of measures, pack sizes, and whatnot. So this goes into, we have 1 each, and there's 3 ounces in the 1 each. So that should be pretty similar to what you guys see today. I don't think that structure has changed much. Here is where we get into what you guys will be doing. So you've got storage and consumption. So you can see we're looking at case packs again. So your storage is how you want it to be ordered into your warehouse. So if you want to order it cases at a time, then your quantity would be 1, your unit of measure would be case. This is also a drop down. You can use the drop down or you can type it in. Now, say we're talking about, I think liquor is probably the most prevalent example here. So if we're talking about a case of liquor, we order a case of vodka in, but there's 12 bottles in that case, and we want to issue it out by the bottle rather than the case. So we'll order it in as the case, but we're going to consume it. I'm sorry, 1 bottle. We're going to consume it as 1 bottle. So it's really important that we've set up the case pack size here so the system can calculate out. So in this case, it doesn't like my bottle. Again, it's got to match one of these options exactly. So in this case, we would want to make sure that our pack size 1 is our largest pack size and it's a case. And inside of that case, there are 12 bottles. So now our system will know when we order this item, it's going to order 1 case. When we issue this item, it's going to issue 1 bottle. Does that make sense? Perfect. All right. So once we complete that, then we'll need to select the location that it will go in. So you'll have the 3 different locations, which we briefly looked at when we were looking at our inventory control. You can see where that correlates over. You can see aisle, bin, level, and we make those selections at this point. So this is where we'll decide on where we're going to locate it in our warehouse. Default location, if it's going in your warehouse, should always be yes. If that's a no, it's going to create issues with your receiving. And then your min inventory quantity and your maximum inventory quantity, those are your pars. So your minimum par and your maximum par. So those are the numbers that we talked about yesterday when we were talking about replenishment. So that is how you fill out that form. I know I went over it very quickly there. There is an instruction tab on the form. So if you ever run into issues or have any questions, feel free to use that instruction tab. And it goes pretty well in depth. Once you finish up the form, you're going to click Run Validation. This is giving me a red because I messed things up on the form, but you're hoping for a green. If you don't get a green, then if you scroll all the way over to the end of the data, it's going to tell you exactly what's wrong, what columns are wrong, and what you need to review. Now, this is telling me this because I selected it as a warehouse item, but I didn't fill in this information. So had I filled in this information, we would have gotten a green and it would have been good to go to send off to for either approval if it's a new item, or to e-procurement if it's a direct item moving to inventory. All right, any questions there? All right, so once you send that form off and the e-procurement gets it set up, they'll let you know, and then it'll be up to you to go in and check your inventory control and make sure that it was all set up correctly for you in the items tab. So back into here where we were looking at those different items that are set up for inventory. All right, now say we want to change a par. We set up a par for a certain amount and it's not working, we need to get more in. So in order to do that, we're going to go back to the setup tab. And then we're going to go to replenishment. This should look familiar from yesterday. Now we're gonna find our item. Let's say I wanna look at Cheetos. So the search filters are pretty neat because you can get pretty vague with it, but you can also get extremely detailed depending on how you set up your filters there. So our Cheetos, we've got a minimum of 3 cases, a maximum of 6 cases, and I keep running 1 case short every week. So I'm gonna click on that little pencil there, and then I'm gonna change this, and I want it to be a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 7. And then I'm gonna click save, and you'll see that it updated on this side as well. So now when it runs replenishment again, it will look at these numbers instead of the old numbers, and it should order us 1 more case than we were getting prior. So say we have decided that we have an item that is not moving very quickly out of the warehouse. They're only ordering it every week or so, or once a week or so, and so we're going to move it to direct order. We feel like it would be a better item for direct order. So we want to remove the item from the warehouse altogether. So in order to do that, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go back to your setup tab. You want to go back to replenishment, and we're actually going to turn off the pars this time. So I am going to verify, yes, this is the item. We want to go ahead and remove this out of inventory. We don't want to carry it anymore. And then I'm going to click on the little pencil at the end here. And instead of changing these numbers, I'm actually going to use this checkbox right here that says replenishment enabled, and I am going to uncheck it. And you're going to see everything grayed out. I can't make any changes to any of it, and it is now inactive. So the replenishment is inactive. The item is still active in your warehouse, however. The item is still going to be visible to your end users to order from your warehouse. So the next step would be to email e-procurement and let them know what it is we want to do with this item. So we want to remove it from inventory, but we want to leave it direct order, or we're done with it, it's been discontinued, we'll never use it again, we want to take it out altogether. E-procurement will then go through and make the changes that are necessary on the back end and let you guys know when it's complete. Is there any questions on editing pars, removing items from inventory or Coupa? All right. So the next thing that we're going to go over is how to update a supplier for the warehouse items. So say we're moving an item over, we need, it's instead of coming from one supplier, now it's going to come from a different supplier. So we need to make sure that when we run our replenishment, it's set to the correct supplier. So we're going to go into setup. We're going to go into replenishment. Now, If we want to make this change, we have to make sure that the new supplier does exist for that specific item. So we'll need to make sure that we get with eProcurement and let them know, hey, we need to add X supplier to this item so we can order it from this supplier. It's a pretty quick, easy email. It shouldn't cause you any problems. Oh, yep, we removed Cheetos, so they went away. Let's try beef. So we're gonna look at this beef fritter here. So right now it's coming from Cisco, and we're gonna move it over to Italico, let's say. I don't know that that's actually valid, but so once we come down here, once we come back into the replenishment, we can see supplier is actually a text box that we can type in. So I'm going to go ahead and take Cisco out, and I'm gonna start typing Italico. Now, if Italico was set up in the system for this item, it would show up here instead of where it says no results match, it would show Italico, and I would be able to select that item, and then it would change the supplier altogether. I didn't do that part and get it set up first, so it's not going to show here. But we'll go ahead and add Cisco back so you can see what that looks like. So you can see it did the drop down there, and I know this is our Cisco here. But you can see there's two different Ciscos that are set up for this item. So that's a pretty easy change. Any questions on that? All right. So once you save it, then you'll need to go through and make sure that that supplier that you changed it to is set up on a replenishment program. Okay. So we are going to then talk about how you mass update locations. So say we want to take a whole corner of our warehouse and we're going to move it to the other side of the warehouse. So I want to update a whole bunch of locations all at once instead of doing it one at a time. So to do that, let me get to the right screen here. Sorry, guys. Here we go. That's what we wanted. So to do that, you're going to reach out to your eProcurement team, and they're going to give you a list of all of your items and where they currently exist. And they're also going to give you a list of existing warehouse locations. So if a location doesn't actually exist in the system yet, we'll need to get that set up before we can move an item into that location, which again, that's just a request over to eProcurement. So you'll get these two lists when you make this request of eProcurement. Once you get the lists from them, you'll go through and you'll reference the second list that they sent you for valid locations, and then you'll go through on the first list and make all the changes that you need to make. When you make those changes, make sure that you highlight what you've changed on the spreadsheet so eProcurement knows exactly what needs to be updated. Once you've made all of your changes, save the document to your computer and then email it to eProcurement for update. And then once they've loaded it, your changes will show in the system. What happens if the vendor subs an item? Would that item need to be added? Jennifer, that's a really good question. We actually go over that a little bit later in the training here. I don't know that we'll get there today, but I will make sure to note that we circle back to your question there, okay? All right, so the next thing is how to update single locations. So I actually don't have a demo for this one, so I'm going to show you here. It's actually quite simple. That's right. Sorry, I don't do this side of it very much. So you're going to go into the on-hand balances sub-tab. So you start with inventory and then on-hand balances. And you can see here some of these items have a little forklift. So if we want to move just one single item, so say we're going to go ahead and move this Budweiser. I want to move it down a little ways. So I'm going to click on the forklift. And then I'm going to come in here and I have 73 cases on hand. So I want to fill in that I'm going to move 73 cases. And I am transferring it. Now I'm going to leave it in the Blackhawk warehouse. So we're going to select the Blackhawk warehouse, and then you can see here, these are all the different options that we have for locations in the Blackhawk warehouse. Unfortunately, this one is not one that you can type into, so you actually do have to scroll through until you find the one you're looking for, but they are in alphabetical order, so that makes, I'm lying. It made me a liar there, didn't it? So yeah, unfortunately, you'll have to scroll through. It's probably a good idea to make sure that you keep your locations clean, so there's not too much here that you have to muddle through there. So we're going to go ahead and move the liquor, the beer there into the cage. We're going to move it over to cage, the A04 slot in the cage. And I'm clicking transfer, and then I'm going to click save. Now, when I go in here, it should, yes, you're going to see that it's actually in 2 locations now. Here, let me limit our results down. Oh, you got to spell it right. So you'll see that that same item is now in 2 different locations. One has a 0, one has the quantity that we moved over. So this is the new location that we picked. So it moved everything over. This location, this will drop off after, I think it's 5 days of no activity. If it's got a 0 here for 5 days, the item, the entry here will drop off. This will go away. You won't see it anymore. So is there any questions on how to update locations? Perfect. All right, so last section here of stock control, we're actually going to go back to the PDF. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys this little illustration real quick. What happens with our warehouse catalog items? So when an end user orders an item direct, they place the order, it goes through the vendor catalog, and then it cuts a PO. If they order directly from, I'm sorry, not direct, let's remove direct. If they order from the warehouse, then the order goes to the warehouse catalog, it cuts a PO, or pick list as we call it. And then warehouse orders from the suppliers. It goes, so the warehouse places the order, it goes through a hidden vendor catalog, and then it cuts a PO. So this hidden catalog, you guys shouldn't be able to see it. Your end users shouldn't be able to see it. Really, the only ones that should be able to see it should be the buyers. And the reason it remains hidden is because we don't want them to order inventory items from a direct supplier. So we definitely want to make sure that we keep those hidden and they're not active for end users to order from. I just want to look here and see if we can, if Jennifer's question makes any sense to add it in to the middle here. Where is that? Now it fits pretty well where it is in the training, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it in there, but we'll go ahead and jump into managing warehouse orders. I think we can get through that first section of it today, and then we can go dive into substitutions and whatnot tomorrow. So managing warehouse orders. So once you've placed your orders and you want to take a look at all the orders that you have open, you know, you've got them placed the orders, but they haven't been received yet. You would go to your inventory tab, and then we're going to go to the unreceived orders sub-tab. Now I want to make sure that my view is set correctly. So in this case, it is the warehouse open orders. There should be one of these views for your property once you get live. So now I'm going to use the advanced filters to search for things that are actually past due. So we have this need by date filter here. Need by is a required field on all orders. So, and then filter clause, I want to look at anything that was due on or before yesterday. And we're going to hit search. And it's going to bring up quite a few. And so these are all items that we're showing that we should have already gotten them and we haven't received them yet. So we need to do a little bit of digging here and figure out why and what needs to happen. Do we need to remove the items from the order? Do we need to close the order altogether? How do we manage this and keep this report as clean as possible? Because this report will affect your replenishment. Because these open items are showing as on order, and if they're not, like it's a canceled order with the supplier, your replenishment isn't going to review these numbers because it shows that it's already on order. So it's really important that we keep these orders up to date, and this should be a real-time, everyday task that you're updating these orders, removing items you're not going to get, canceling orders you're not going to get, and it requires a lot of communication with your buyers. And it's here, even our warehouse supervisor will communicate directly with suppliers. So once I identify items that need to be removed from an open order, I am going to use this order here because I've already done some fiddling on it so you guys can see what needs to be done. So we're going to go into the order. We're going to click on the PO ID number, and it's actually going to take us into the order. So we need to make sure that the requester is you. If it's not you, you won't be able to make the changes that need to be made. So if the if the requester is not you, then you need to work with the person who is the requester to get the edits made. So we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom of the order, and we're going to click, normally it would say change or request change. I've already made changes to this, so it's actually giving me edit change, but it could say request change. It should say request change. So if I edit my change, I'm going to come down here and we're going to see, so this item, we ordered a quantity of 1, we've received 1, so we don't need to do anything with that. So you will see there are some situations, some instances, let's find it here. Here we go. So this item, we ordered 2, but we didn't get any, and we've confirmed with the supplier that we're not going to get those. So we're going to use this red X right here, and we're just going to take the line off. And you can see if you've done that in error, you can click the undo button and it'll undo your request there before you submit it. The other scenario that we could look at would be this one, where we had ordered 3 and we did receive 1 of them, but we've confirmed that we're not going to get the other 2. So you can see I can't actually remove a line because I don't want to remove the line because we did receive 1 and we need to pay for that 1. However, we can change the quantity. So I can remove the 2 that we're not going to get and add, just keep it at the 1 that we did receive. So once I go through and make all of my changes there, we'll see there's another item here we didn't get, so we want to X that one out. So once I go through and make all my changes, I'm going to scroll back down to the bottom and I'm going to click Submit Change Request. Once I do that, my buyers are going to get a notification that there's a change request that requires their approval. Excuse me. It's also going to go to your supply chain manager after your buyer group. So we're going to click Submit Change. And you can see here now that we look at it, it shows the green bar that confirms that my change request was submitted successfully. And then there's also this yellow bar here that indicates to anybody that gets into the purchase order that there is a change request on it, and we should probably view the change request. Is there any questions about changing warehouse orders? Yes. Yes, Jennifer, that is correct. So if you are still planning on getting the item, if you've confirmed with the supplier it's coming at a later date, go ahead and leave it open. I would advise putting comments on the purchase order here at the bottom and just say still expecting line 5 on 12/15. And that way, if anybody else gets into it, they can see, hey, yeah, we probably shouldn't remove this line. It's still coming in. That's why it's still open. We talked about the stock status when we went over the item request form. This is a situation in which that's really important. So we can see this, these probably aren't a great example because these all say none. We never filled these ones in. But like your broadliners, especially when your buyers are collecting data for setting items up, they should be collecting this information. So the stock status will help you out a lot when you're going through it. You can see, you know, if it's special order, probably shouldn't remove it off there yet. Let's confirm with the supplier on the date. But that's a piece of information that you can look at and check to see if it's still on its way. So let's say you had an order that only had one item on it. The item didn't show up. We've confirmed with the supplier that it's not going to show up. We are going to go, I lost myself here. We're going to go back to inventory, unreceived orders. And then, oh, I think I lost the one I was using. I'm going to search. I sure did. I had one set up for us and it's not there now. I'm not sure where it happened to it. So we'll pick another one. Sorry, guys, I thought I was prepared there. Oh, here's a good example of that stock status, the special order. So I think though this one. Give me one moment, guys. Sorry about that. I do not know what happened to my order. There it is there. Ah, that's what happened to my order. I already did the change apparently on it, which is why it wasn't showing up where it was. Sorry about that. I don't know that it's going to show up here now. Nope. Okay. We will go back this way and I will show you this way. So we've confirmed with the supplier this item's not coming in. We're not going to get it. We need to cancel it. So again, it'll say select request change down here. And then all the way at the bottom, you should see request PO cancellation. So we're just going to cancel the PO altogether because we know we're not going to get it. There's no sense in making edits to it. We'll just cancel it. So you'll get your green bar that'll show you that your request has been submitted, and then you can monitor it from there through your activity. So I think that's a good stopping point for today. And Jennifer, you'll be happy to hear we'll start straight into substitutions tomorrow. So does anybody have any questions for me on today's information? Anything we want to go over again? We have a few more minutes here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take that as everybody's good to go. And I will see you guys again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.